Okay, the club versus country debate. Now, this covers multiple sports. Most people think when I say club versus country, it's just football, rugby, cricket, or ice hockey. But it covers all sports, not more than just that. We've seen it with the NHL banning players from going to the Olympics. So a league has said players cannot play for their country. We have seen it where players on international duty, be it football or rugby, get injured. And the clubs protest saying get rid of the friendlies or reduce the amount of internationals per year. Now, that's why most major tournaments take place post-season, so there's no clash with club commitments. The World Championships in ice hockey take place during the Stanley Cup playoffs. And so those players who want to represent their countries, who are playing in the playoffs after the second round, cannot go and represent their countries in the World Championships. That happens. There's a clash there. The Olympics takes place in February, Winter Olympics, so that causes a clash with the NHL regular season. Some years they let them go, some years they don't. It depends on when the tournament's being held and where it's being held and TV revenue, lots of TV revenue. The main issue comes with cricket, rugby and football. Cricket seems to not mind the club-country clash so much. First-class cricketers are allowed primarily to play where they want, but they also have to sign certain agreements where they have to represent their country. So the IPL and the beginning of the Test series in the Northern Hemisphere in England and Ireland, for example, lots of British-born players play in the IPL now. However, they can't compete for the entire IPL. They have to come back to either represent England or Ireland at Test, One Day and T20 level. Happens. Rugby union is an interesting one because a lot of clubs now are agreeing with the rugby unions of their country, centralised contracts where the governing body in the country, so that's the RFU, says all English players who want to play for their country have to be located in England. So that means there's a lot of English players playing in France who cannot represent their country, such as the Armitage brothers, Anna Bandonen and Chris Ashton. All of them have got England caps, but they cannot represent their country under selection rules. It's the same in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, there is a debate right now in certain of the Celtic nations like Scotland, Wales and Ireland about, again, selection policy. And there's also this debate in the Southern Hemisphere about selection policy. There is the Matt Giteau rule in Australia where you have to have so many caps before you can play abroad and still be eligible to selection for your country under extreme circumstances. There has to be a specific reason why that player or those players can represent. South Africa are a bit more relaxed when it comes to overseas players playing outside South Africa. Scotland, it doesn't matter. Wales, it does, and it's now become an official rule in their selection policy. I think you have to play a minimum of 68 test matches before you can play outside of Wales if you wish to still play for your country. I think Ireland's gone down the same route that the New Zealand All Blacks do it. So it's an interesting one in rugby, but there's a thing called centralised contracts, which is what you don't get in football. Cricket and rugby have centralised contracts, so when a player is regularly called up, they will be given a centralised contract whereby a lot of their wages are paid by the governing body, and the club will only have to pay a percentage. So anyone around the elite, basically the elite training squad is what it's called. If you're selected for that for a year, you are on a centralised contract. That will cover anywhere between 40 and 60% of your annual salary of your contract. So this club versus country debate, a lot of coaches are questioning the amount of football friendlies, for example, and players coming back from training camp or from those internationals injured. And they give a lot of instructions to the international coach. Play him only for 45 minutes or 60 minutes. Don't play him for the full 90. We want him fit for league game or cup game on this date after the international break, for example. That is a regular occurrence. A lot of sports fans would rather see their club win than their country because of the sporting rivalries. Now, that is a bit different in the US, for example, or Canada, but over here in Europe, it's a very tribal kind of thing. And it's the same in Australia to a point. It's very tribal when it comes to domestic competitions of clubs versus clubs. So the NRL, the English Premier League, for example. These leagues, very tribal, very passionate fan bases that don't always get along. So when it does come to international duty, the international team, the team that is selected, will have those club rivalries within the team, and it can, in the past, has caused problems. Same in Spanish football. So this club versus country debate won't go away. Now, some countries seem to get behind their national sides a lot more than others. But I've seen a lot of polls online, on social media, that's social media people like me are doing the club versus country. Who would you rather see win a trophy, your club or your country? On average, about 80% say their club over country. So a lot of fans are voting for this. However, if that poll was asked on another day in a different audience, it could be 8% want the country to win over the club. But there's still a proportion of fans voting they want to see their club win over their country. It's an interesting debate point. It's a topic that won't go away. So it's interesting to see how different sports deal with it. Some sports assist with centralised contracts within the elite training squad, where players will have a proportion of their salary for that whole season paid for by the governing body, or for a series of seasons paid for by the governing body. In other sports, such as football, there is no centralised contract. It is your club. The clubs control the contracts, and then you just get an international match fee. England's rugby union is different. It's just selection policy states that if you are based outside England, you cannot play for the England national side. I do not agree with necessarily the policy per se, saying hey, you must have a minimum amount of caps before you can play. I think the best players should be selected. However, the centralised contracts, because rugby has less money floating around than football, do make sense economically to help try and keep costs down for the clubs, because the clubs are not making as much money out of the TV revenue and gate receipts as in football. Soccer for American fans, if you've made it this far, I must make that distinction. Obviously, American football is completely different. There is no international American football, it's just clubs, franchises. But in those sports that do have internationals, centralised contracts in some sports are a godsend for the domestic game in helping reduce costs for the domestic club sides. It's a godsend. However, I don't necessarily agree with you have to play in your country of origin to play for your national side, because in football that rule does not exist. It does not exist per se. However, the Argentina side of 1978, only one player was based abroad because he'd already signed his contract before the World Cup started with Valencia, which was Mario Kempes. He had actually started playing for Valencia at that point, but he'd signed his contract. Apart from that, every other player in that 78 World Cup winning squad for Argentina was based in Argentina for political reasons, which was forced upon the federation by the military junta government at the time. The Brazil side that won in 1970, again, all based in Brazil, but that was at a time when players' wages were a lot less, and it made economical sense just to play for your local club in Brazil than go and try in Europe and fail and be homesick. It made a lot of logical sense. The South American invasion of Europe didn't come until the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. But now it's very hard to see a World Cup winner where all the players are based in one country of origin in football, and occasionally in rugby union as well. We have seen World Cup squads where they, again, are based all around the world. It's starting to change more for protectionism. I think that's the word I'm looking for in certain sports. But we shall see. Anyway, it's a very interesting debating topic. I thought I might make a little video on this. It is important, and I'm going to leave that there. Place your thoughts and comments below. I'll be very interested to see what you viewers think on the club-country debate when it comes to certain sports. And there are other sports that I didn't cover, and I'm more than happy to talk about rugby league, where there doesn't seem to be this club-country debate so much. The best players get picked. We have English players playing in the NRL. They still get selected for the England side. Same with Scotland and Wales. There are players who can represent Scotland because the way that the nationality thing works in rugby league is different from rugby union. It's just, where your parents were born. You don't have to ever have lived in that country. So it's an interesting one. But I'm interested to see what people think. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and place those comments below, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.